Right. I think we're live. Let me get this thing recording. Beautiful. What's going on, everybody? Hope the Cash Physical Therapy HQ community is having a fantastic week so far. You're learning stuff, you're growing both personally and in business, and everything's off to a great start. Today, we have something very, very special for you. We brought in Lacy because she has an incredible journey, an incredible success story that I knew would be very inspiring and moving for many of you, because I know a lot of you, you're new in your practice. You're not really sure what your next step needs to be. You're questioning whether or not having your own cash practice is even the right choice for you and your family. And so Lacy and her husband, Ramon, joined our program not too long ago, kind of in the same position. So I wanted to bring her in here today to share her story and the things that were most important to her and her success in going from just getting started to being able to generate, $31,000 over the last few months and hitting her first 10K months. So it's going to be a really good one. Make sure to thank her for her time and thank her for being here today, because she has three kids at home, right?
Yeah.
She's got three kids at home. She has a business. She has a husband. There's a million things that she could be doing right now during her lunch, but she's here with us to share her journey and share her experience with all of you. So make sure to give her some love in the comments here. So Lacy, thank you so much for being here. We really, really appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Yeah. So you've obviously had one heck of a run in the last few months. The last phone call we had was when I was still in Portugal, and we're kind of talking through some sales issues. You weren't really sure if things were working out. And now today we get to highlight you as one of, our success stories, and generating, $31,000 in a few months while only working 3 days a week. So how does it feel for you to now being able to generate that kind of, patience and cash flow?
It feels so good. So free. And this is why I did it. At first you have days where you're like, man, is this the right decision? I would love to just clock in, clock out, but no, it's definitely worth it. And then the 3-day a week thing has been such a good balance for like work, home life, still being able to be present as a mom, but also pour into the business. And so it's been good. I don't know if I want to go to a 5-day a week again. But yeah, so now it's opened doors for like expansion and dreaming bigger than I had even ever imagined from the get-go. So it's awesome.
Yeah, I know when you first joined, your main priority is just getting to 5K a month. So now that you've hit your first like 10K months, like has that changed in terms of your goals and what you feel is, possible for yourself?
Oh, yeah. I'm now thinking about hiring and how can we get this thing to grow, not just number wise, but like, how can I help more people? Because now having I'm waitlisting people and I just truly want to make sure that I'm serving my community well. So that means I need to grow bigger and beyond myself. So I'm working out of a birth center right now. So I've even thought about what it would look like to have my own brick and mortar one day, and have the capability to go 5 days a week, even if that's not me doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's opened so many doors and allowed me to brainstorm of all the possibilities. So.
Mm-hmm. Right. So now if you do, 5K a month, that was your goal. It's like, how does hitting 5K a month feel to you now?
Oh, easy peasy. I'm
Right.
like, yeah.
It's funny
Yeah.
how it's cool to see when people have like this big goal, but now just a few months later, hitting what used to be your goal is now like kind of an emergency. Like, what's wrong in the business?
Yeah. No,
So
that's true.
it's interesting to like reflect on, and it's funny how your perspective completely flips. Happy for you, and that was able to happen. But for a
Yeah.
lot of people, everyone knows that it's possible to build a very healthy 6 and multiple 6 and even 7-figure cash practice. But a lot of people struggle with, I know it's possible for people like you, Lacy, and people like, but I don't know if I have what it takes. I don't know if I can do it. So I want to kind of go back when you first kind of started this practice, kind of talk about some of the rough times, because you've gone through a lot of stuff, just like everyone has to when they start their business. So why don't you walk us through what was going on that led to you being like, I have to start my own practice?
Okay, so I live in Louisiana, but in a town called Covington. I was commuting about 3 hours a day to go to this cash-based pelvic floor physical therapy office in Baton Rouge.
Mhm.
I had amazing mentorship and it was great. And it was good for about a year, but then it got to a point where I was like burning out really fast, getting home and had no gas in the tank to like give to my family and kids. And I have small kids. So yeah, that just was not sustainable. So I kept pushing her to open a branch out closer to me and I would run it and it was just not feasible for her. So I'm like, I'm gonna do it. And so
Yeah.
I saw people doing like mobile practices. And I think that's what gave me some confidence was like, this does not have to be big. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be like legit as I'm thinking it needs to be. So it started off as 1 day a week. I just rented space for 1 day and then started there. And then that kind of started growing on its own. But then I took the leap of faith to completely stop going to Baton Rouge and sign up with you guys. And that
Yeah.
happened simultaneously. And yeah, it was scary. And I thought, how the heck am I going to even fill 3 days? Like, I'm barely filling this 1 day I'm working there, but here we are now. So
That leaps really hard for some people. Like, what was the conversation that you're having, like in your own head, of like before you gave up the Baton Rouge and that kind of like safety blanket? Like, what were you
oh,
thinking? And
I went and interviewed with other places because I
yeah,
was like, that's not feasible. Like that doesn't make sense on paper. Um, so I was going to go take a job part-time elsewhere and then have my own thing part-time. And that way it's not just on me.
mhm,
So yeah, it was a huge leap of faith. And I'm really thankful that Ramon's income was able to like hold it down.
right.
And so, yeah, it was just one of those things that it didn't make sense on paper, but I knew the potential of where it could go.
Mhm.
So it was a lot of blind courage. And then, yeah, talking to you guys, I was like, okay, and now I have a tour guide to get there.
Love that, a tour guide. The
Yeah.
before you like found us, I know you found us from our YouTube channel. But like, were you trying to do stuff on your own, or did you know from the very beginning that you wanted to find a coach? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah. So Ramon was more like knowledgeable about the potential of Facebook marketing. And he just knew like there's people out there that specialize in the individual fields. And he was like, you need somebody that speaks the PT lingo and then specifically the cash-based PT lingo. So yeah, before that though, I was just on mom groups putting out feelers like, hey, if I opened a clinic, would y'all be interested? That blew up. And
Nice.
then I came back on those same mom groups and I was like, hey, so I did it. I opened a clinic. And then that's all I had going for me. And then he, I think, tried to run like one ad for me just to
Mhm.
boost. I don't even know what he was doing. Yeah. That was when like that was a foreign language to me at the time.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we tried to do a little something and it brought in like maybe 2 or 3 really crappy leads.
Yeah.
And so he knew he was like, yeah, let's call in the professionals.
So you had some initial success with those posts. Truthfully,
Mhm.
if you didn't have that initial success, do you think you would have kept moving forward with the practice? And would you have ended up getting that part-time job? Would we even be talking if that initial stuff didn't work out a little bit?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. It was really other people driving this.
Yeah.
And I don't even, so my practice is in another town so I commute here too. It's 30 minutes of a commute, but there's no other pelvic PTs in the area. So yeah, it was people chomping at the bits and then there was a need not being met. That
Yeah.
is why I came here. But no, other than that, I probably would have just went and worked for someone else and kept a little bit easier or what I thought would have been an easier life until my kids got older, probably.
Yeah. Well, I think focusing on that for just a minute is super valuable because there's a lot of people watching this who are just trying to get a sign of hope and get a little bit of momentum in their business, who aren't at a stage they can work with a coach. So can you just briefly tell us, like, what did those posts look like? Like, what'd you say in them? Did you have like an image that you attached to it, or is it one of those like meme posts? Like, what did those look like?
The original post was just me. I think I did. No, it was just words, the
Mhm.
original one. And it was in a lot of like mommy's pages and things like that. So like targeted audiences. And I said, hey, I'm a pelvic floor physical therapist in Baton Rouge. I just want to know if I opened a clinic in Slidell, would you guys be interested? Would it benefit y'all? And
Mhm.
so many people were like, please, yes, I'm driving to XYZ to get therapy and it sucks. And so, yeah, that's really within probably a couple weeks, I had gotten my LLC put together, my logo, all the things. And then made another post with my logo. And I was like, all right, guys, I made a post a few weeks back just to remind y'all this is what I do. And then this is where I plan to come. And so, yeah, we started making moves pretty quickly after I saw like how much the need was there.
Yeah. Did you put
And that's
anything on
what,
your
hmm?
did you put anything on your personal profile?
I did not. No,
No? Okay.
no.
So I think everyone should take note of that. If you haven't gone and just posted something friendly, not promotional, just asking like, hey, if this was available, like, would you be interested? I think you would be surprised at how quickly you can drum up some interest and help build that belief within yourself that you totally got this. So
Yeah.
love that you did that. I remember when we first had our call, that was something I wanted to like dig back into. So I'm like, what did you do? Because that's awesome. But then we
Yeah.
never had a chance to. But thanks for being willing to share that. I think everyone should be executing that. Honestly, not
Yeah.
just when you're starting, but like regularly.
Right. And also, I will add my boss was a friend. The boss at the time was a friend on my Facebook page. So that's probably why I was like, let me keep this very specific to the area that I want to go to.
Yep.
Because yeah, I was putting a lot of feelers out without her.
Mhm.
She always encouraged it, but like I had not brought that to her yet. So if there's any fear around like what your current position will
Mhm.
think about that, then yeah, there's certain pages are a little bit easier to get feelers out first
100%.
with. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's wise, especially if you have like some weird like contract agreements where you're limited on who and what you can work with. So yeah, sage advice. So let's talk a little bit about what sorts of things that once you join a program, obviously we're able to help with like the Facebook ads, but as you know, we help with a heck of a lot more than just that. So can you tell us like what were the biggest like takeaways or like the aha moments that you found were most beneficial once you started working with us?
Um, so coming from another cash-based clinic, we used to not give like cost transparency.
Mhm.
And that once upon a time was like, no, don't do that. You got to get them in first and then you'll unveil all of the secrets. And it's like, you guys kind of explaining that that's shady for
Yeah.
one, because I always felt that way. I'm like, I think they should know it first and foremost. That has been really helpful. Giving them a projection of like how many sessions they're going to need. Just I was doing a lot of like the sales phone consultation prior to an in-person session before, but yeah, it was just these small little details that I added that gave more transparency to the patient, and I feel like they felt safer coming in and there weren't going to be any like hidden surprises once
Yeah.
they got there.
Yeah, I think that's a huge misconception with like cash PT and like sales. It's like if you're just being like authentic and
Mhm.
honest, it's not sales. It's just letting the person have all the information they need to make the best decision for themselves. And if
Right.
you're just honest about it and don't make it weird and like pressure, like people
Right.
tend to connect with you. So
Yeah,
um,
it's just informed consent, which is
right.
like so important. So yeah, that's been really good. This like even just having the systems in place to know that I could hire somebody else and it's not all on me to like impart this wisdom and drive over to them, because yeah, another person's not going to love my business the way I do, but I can give them a spiel or give them a script to kind of go off of and it'll be similar.
Right. That a lot
Yeah.
easier to train someone on how to sell if you have something laid out for them to go through rather than just trying to like piece together your own
Yeah.
like memory of it.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
outside of that, like initial phone call and just being fully transparent within your sales, like what else kind of led to, the growth that you've been able to see here?
The website was
Yeah.
so good. Yeah. Website was really, really good. I've had people comment on how great it looks, but also like how they just found my website and got information on that alone. And they compared my website to somebody else's and they chose me because of that. So that has actually been amazing. I've generated a good bit of just, website leads from just organic traffic there. And then, yeah, I have yet to like promote the website and pay for that on Facebook, but yeah, just people coming through that. So that's been really awesome. And I think that in itself has been so good. CM Hub, that has been a game changer too. That streamlines everything for me and helps get my brain organized, which is a beautiful thing because I don't have an admin. So it is all me doing like scheduling, rescheduling, all the things. And so that has been a beautiful thing in the process.
Are there any particular pieces of CM Hub? Like a lot of people don't know what CM Hub is. So it's
okay.
Right. Yeah. Explain what CM Hub is and then like what parts, like what things does it help you with?
So CM Hub is like a place where all your phone calls or texts and things can filter through, but also you can have like all your leads can filter through that area. So if a Facebook lead comes in, it streamlines down to one funneled place. And then if I want to send out anything, I can orchestrate like schedules or automations and things like that. So if I want a text message to go out to particular patients on an X day in their treatment, then I can schedule that down to the T. So yeah, that is just like, I guess that's how I would explain it. That's at least what I've used it for up until now. But yeah, it has been kind of a good replacement for an admin person for me to help.
A little bit easier to remember, like to follow up with people, keep track of people, not let them slip through the cracks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it helps me keep track. All those things. Yeah.
Yeah. So early on when you were running the Facebook ads, I know you said like walk us through like when you first started running ads. I don't remember exactly what you said in our chat. Can you walk us through what the progression of the Facebook ads was and how that impacted like your revenue?
Yeah. So initially, Facebook was banning a lot of the content that I was trying to run ads for. Which apparently they do that when it comes to anatomy, but I'm a pelvic floor therapist, so even more so for me. So that was an issue initially. And then we would finally get some traction a little bit, but they were still giving me a lot of bans on my account. So they were telling me to wait it out. And that's from y'all's advice too. It's like, hey, just, wait it out and see if they'll lift the bans. And then finally we decided to like just create a new account, which does not have to happen for everyone apparently. But once we finally did that, that's when the magic happened. Like I felt like my ads were being optimized, and better quality leads were coming in even. So yeah, but when I first started, we were still getting some traction. So it was working, even though it wasn't perfect. And so just that and alone was giving me some hope. But once we kind of got all the bugs worked out, that's when I was like, oh, wow, this thing is literally like a faucet and I can turn it on and off when I need it to. And in the last month, I've had my ads completely turned off because of that. Like I was having them booked out too far, and per y'all's advice, it's like, they don't need to be booking out that far. So just turn it off.
Right. Especially if you also have them coming in from the website.
Oh yeah.
Right. And it's nice to just have that kind of like, if you need them, it's there, especially now that you're considering hiring, knowing that it's like, you can just fill them up using that. And that, yeah. So walk me through, absolutely. I know it wasn't like, everyone always thinks it's this just magic button that you press and everything just like works out. And so I know one of our last conversations, the follow-up process and getting a hold of people is something that was, you're struggling with. And then we had a conversation and things started to get much better. So can you walk me through like, what sorts of things did you learn about following up with leads and doing that kind of sales?
Yeah, so follow-ups, I used to maybe give them like a next day text saying like, "Hey, how are things?" But then you guys kind of gave me a system to follow up the same day,
Mhm.
give them an email that like really goes into the details of what we covered in our session. Um, and then the next day text, and then like a third day text. And so that was really helpful to have. And it prompts me to send them text messages just to reach out. And I feel like my patients have appreciated that tremendously. And then initially, I was having a problem with scheduling evals and then them just falling off the face of the earth.
Right.
And then you gave me the idea to like make a Loom video to say, "Hey, I'm excited to meet you," put a face to the name kind of thing. And I feel like that was helpful too.
Yeah, are you
And
still
so
doing that?
not as much,
Okay.
but every now and then, if they're really far out and I'm like, they haven't filled out their form yet, I'm like sending them that extra step. I have it in my tool belt at least.
Good. Yeah.
Um, yeah,
And
so that's been good.
that's something that everyone here, I highly recommend doing it. It's just a level of experience that no one else offers. Like
Mhm.
when you get a new eval booked, don't just send them like onboarding email. Record a brief 1 minute, 2 minute Loom video and send it directly to them where it's personalized, has their name in it, shows you took the time, shows a little personality, and your show up rates are not only going to be like drastically different, but those people are going to show up much more ready to buy. So
Mhm.
I'm glad that you actually did that because I tell that to a lot of people and very few people do it, but the people who do it end up getting like really good results with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's good. It's good to have for sure.
Right. So now that you're doing, you're around like 10K a month, you've had a few 10K months. It's kind of
Mhm.
still going a little bit up and down. Like, what is your plan for the next like 6 months? Where are you trying to get to?
I would love, I think consistency first and foremost. Like I want to prove that I can hit 10K monthly.
Mhm.
Um, and then I can start looking into other methods of bringing in extra revenue. So that would probably be hiring another therapist. So I think that would be helpful to get somebody else in here. I'm in a space where I can only work 3 days a week. So that's been a good pace for me for now. So I would have to have a therapist probably come in on those same days if I'm still here. So yeah, that would be next step. I think consistency though, first and foremost. Like I need to see if I can trust this process
Right.
before I make it more, you know, more expansive or anything like that.
Right. It's very, very wise. Make sure like the foundation is strong for adding on to it. Have you considered looking into other spaces to potentially get someone for 2, 3 days a week?
Um, I haven't looked into it yet, but I'm considering it. I would have to
Yeah.
like float my things back and forth. I mean, it wouldn't require that much, but I'm in a really perfect setting right now
Yeah.
because a lot of the patients that are coming in here to have their babies are also coming to see me. So I think it's a good point to start out with because that's also in itself getting my name out there just from the location I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a great spot, but
Mhm.
yeah, you definitely have a lot of options moving forward. I'm glad that we're
Yeah.
able to get you to the point where now you have that kind of leverage
Yeah.
where you can decide like, do I want to just stay where I'm at and work 3 days a week so I can have all that time to be the best mom, ever? Or
Yeah.
hire someone in and delegate the treatment so you have even more time. So I'm really excited to
Yeah.
see what it is that you and Ramon accomplish together over the next few months as you kind of continue to implement these strategies and expand your different marketing channels. So for the other new public health entrepreneurs who are watching this or the other practice owners who are watching this, is there any advice that you have for them about just getting started and kind of figuring this out and fighting through the struggles that you inevitably run into when you're starting this stuff?
Yeah. Just, sticking with it, really. There's going to be days where, people fall off your schedule and things like that. But I mean, always remember the why behind why you do it. And I think that helps me. Sometimes my husband's more numbers driven, but for me, I'm like, no, why I do this is to like love on people and really help them through vulnerable times in their lives. And also whenever they like, if they fall off the schedule or my schedule's not completely full that week, it's not, my identity is not tied to like, my productivity. And so, but having the tools to like turn the faucet on, bring them in and practice is going to help make your systems more permanent. And so,
Of course. Now,
yeah.
you said something that a lot of people have a really hard time with. It took me a long time to be able to do this, but I'm just curious if this is something that came naturally to you or you had to work on it. Like, how would you detach your own happiness and your day-to-day like emotions from the business? Is that something that came naturally to you, or did you have to work on that?
No, oh no. I'm like, I take on my patients, all their emotions. But yeah, just trying to stay like rooted on their behalf because so many people come in and they're like laying a lot of heavy stuff on you. Or they like, can't keep coming for XYZ or whatever it be. Um, it just, you have to get ahead of that. No, it doesn't come naturally for me. I want to like feel all the feels. And so I just have to like double down on intentionality of like not letting that not letting that come home with me, and kind of like stick around kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's something that so hard, even if after years of doing it, like it still gets to you sometimes. So I
Yeah,
know for me, like
absolutely.
I have to have a regular gym routine. I have to be eating right. I have to be
Mhm.
reading every day. Otherwise, like the emotions of entrepreneurship definitely just slap you in the face some days.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
Right.
I don't even have like employees yet. So I'm like, that will be a fun next level to all of that.
It's definitely a whole nother thing to learn, but once you can get over like the almost all of like the fears and the like anxiety around it, like that's the worst part. It's never as bad as you think it is. It's especially if you have the right processes and the right like framework to onboard someone and to train them and how to lead them and make sure that they're fulfilled and they're
Yeah.
happy, and you realize
Yeah.
that they don't work for you, you work for them. It's a really really relieving and enjoyable experience, because helping patients is like one thing, but like creating someone else's dream job where they're happy and seeing those ripples into their family and their life, like that honestly is the best feeling in the world. So
Yeah.
I know you're going to get
Scary.
there.
I'm excited for that one day. One
You'll get there.
day.
It's no rush. It's all
Yeah.
about being happy and fulfilled and going at your own pace. So no rush,
Absolutely. Yeah,
right?
no, this has been beautiful. Like I'm really, really happy with where we're at right now. Just ready to coast just for a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah, crazy not to. So for the closing kind of shameless plug, can you tell me like, or tell the people, anyone who's considering working with us or on the fence with working with us, any advice for them?
Yeah. I think making the investment is important. And that is something that is, especially if you have a cash-based physical therapy service,
Mhm.
you probably preach that all day long about like showing your patients to make the investment into you. But this is one of the investments that I'm like, I would do it 1,000 times over. It was a game changer for my business and I recommend it to everybody. And it wasn't just the marketing piece. It was so much more. And I think the marketing was beautiful and great, but it helped on so many levels. And clinical marketer is so organized and there's so many resources and they're cool to work with, which is just like what an added joy, to the experience. And so I would 100%, 10 out of 10 recommend to anybody, especially if you're struggling to like, grow your practice to where you need. And so just get a tour guide. It'll, it'll do the job.
Absolutely. Way to hook it back to the beginning. Perfect for the tour guide. So,
Yeah.
Lacey, thank you so much for being here. Thanks so much for being willing to share your experience, your journey, the hard stuff, the good stuff, and some tactical things that people can go home and put into action right now. So, if you're watching this right now, catching live, catching the replay, make sure to thank Lacey for her time here today. And if you have any questions about Lacey's journey or things that she learned, or questions about how we could potentially help you, just drop a comment beneath this video. We're happy to follow up with you, give you any of our free resources, answer any of your questions. And of course, if it makes sense for us to talk, we can do that. So Lacey, thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Talk to you
Good,
later.
everybody.